Good morning, I'm Remo, and breaking, at least 16 people are dead after a streetcar derailed and crashed in Lisbon, Portugal, including multiple Americans and Canadians. This is the Daily Signal for September 5th, 2025. Stay tuned for the rest of the stories.
Unfiltered. Now.
Here are the other top stories for September 5th, 2025. French President Macron announces 26 nations ready to provide post-war military backing to Ukraine. China showcases new naval missiles and combat drones in massive military parade display. Afghan earthquake survivors report male rescuers are refusing to help women victims. Israeli military now controls 40% of Gaza City, plans major expansion. Nazi-looted Italian masterpiece Portrait of a Lady recovered in Argentina real estate listing. Indonesian student protesters meet with government ministers demanding political reform. Jamaica's Prime Minister Andrew Holness wins historic third term in power. Chinese President Xi unites world leaders frustrated with Trump's policies. UAE warns White House that Israeli annexations could destroy Abraham Accords peace deal. Now let's dive into each story. The Ascensor de Gloria funicular in Lisbon became a death trap yesterday when its cable snapped, sending the historic streetcar crashing into a building. Here's what happened. At 6:05 p.m. local time, the century-old funicular lost control near Restauradores Square. One carriage broke free, smashing into pedestrians and a building. The death toll, 16 confirmed dead, including a 3-year-old child. 21 others injured, 5 in life-threatening condition. The victims were from around the world: Americans, Canadians, Germans, Ukrainians, and others. This wasn't just a local tragedy. It's an international disaster affecting families across multiple continents. 62 rescue workers and 22 emergency vehicles responded immediately. Lisbon authorities have shut down all similar funicular services pending safety inspections. Why this matters? This historic transport system carries thousands of tourists daily. The investigation will determine if this was mechanical failure or poor maintenance, critical for tourist safety worldwide. French President Emmanuel Macron just announced a game-changing development. 26 nations have committed to providing military support to Ukraine after the war ends. This isn't about current weapons shipments. This is about long-term security guarantees. Think of it as a security insurance policy for Ukraine's future, designed to prevent any future Russian aggression. The announcement signals that Western unity remains strong despite war fatigue. Countries are essentially saying, we're not abandoning Ukraine when the fighting stops. Macron hasn't revealed which specific nations are involved or what type of military aid they'll provide. But this collective commitment represents the largest post-war security pledge in decades. Why this matters to you? This could reshape European security for generations and affects global military spending, NATO dynamics, and your tax dollars if you're American. China just flexed its military muscles with a parade featuring cutting-edge naval missiles and combat drones that have Pentagon officials taking notes. The showcase highlighted new long-range missiles capable of hitting targets across the Indo-Pacific and advanced drones for reconnaissance and combat operations. This isn't just a parade. It's a message to the United States and its allies. Here's the key detail. These weapons significantly extend China's ability to project power beyond its borders, particularly in disputed waters like the South China Sea. The timing isn't coincidental. With tensions high over Taiwan and ongoing territorial disputes, China is demonstrating it has the firepower to back up its claims. Why this matters? This military advancement affects global shipping routes, regional stability, and could trigger an arms race that impacts defense spending worldwide. After a devastating earthquake struck Afghanistan, survivors are reporting a shocking new tragedy. Male rescuers are refusing to help women victims. Women survivors describe being ignored or actively shunned by male rescue teams, leaving them trapped under rubble or without emergency aid. This gender-based discrimination is literally costing lives in the earthquake's aftermath. The reports highlight how cultural restrictions are hampering disaster response and making recovery efforts less effective. International aid organizations are struggling to navigate these social barriers while people remain in desperate need. This creates a humanitarian nightmare where half the population, women and girls, cannot access life-saving assistance. Why this matters? This impacts international aid effectiveness and raises questions about how to provide emergency assistance in countries with restrictive social systems. The Israeli military announces it now controls 40% of Gaza City and plans to expand operations in the coming days. This represents a significant escalation in the ongoing conflict between Israeli forces and Hamas. The IDF's control over nearly half of Gaza's largest city marks a critical phase in the military campaign. Israeli officials indicate they plan to intensify operations to consolidate control over the entire city. This expansion will likely involve urban warfare in densely populated areas, raising concerns about civilian casualties. The humanitarian impact continues to mount with infrastructure damage and displacement of Gaza's civilian population. Why this matters? This escalation could trigger broader regional conflict and affects international diplomatic efforts to broker peace in the Middle East. An incredible discovery in Argentina. Authorities recovered Portrait of a Lady, an Italian masterpiece looted by Nazis during World War II, after it appeared in a real estate listing. The painting disappeared during Nazi occupation and somehow ended up in Argentina, where it was accidentally exposed when someone included it in property sale photos. Sharp-eyed art experts recognized the missing work. This recovery represents ongoing efforts to repatriate thousands of artworks stolen during the Holocaust. The painting is now being processed for return to its rightful owners or their descendants. The case demonstrates how Nazi-looted art continues to surface in unexpected places, often held by people unaware of the work's dark history. Why this matters? This affects thousands of families still searching for stolen family heirlooms and highlights ongoing justice efforts 80 years after World War II. Indonesian student protesters achieved a major breakthrough by securing meetings with government ministers to present their demands for political reform. The students are demanding anti-corruption measures, education improvements, and broader democratic reforms. These aren't just campus protests. They represent broader societal frustration with government policies and economic conditions. The fact that ministers agreed to meet signals the government recognizes the seriousness of student concerns and the potential for larger social unrest. This marks a critical moment for Indonesia's democracy, with young people directly challenging leadership and demanding institutional change. Jamaica's Prime Minister Andrew Holness just made history by winning a rare third term in office, a significant achievement in Caribbean politics where leadership changes are common. This victory consolidates Holness's position and demonstrates his party's continued popularity despite economic challenges. The mandate gives him significant political capital for the next term. This stability could benefit Jamaica's economic development efforts and its role in regional security cooperation, particularly regarding drug trafficking and migration issues. Looking across today's stories, three major themes emerge that will shape your world. First, global security realignment. From Macron's 26-nation Ukraine coalition to China's military parade and Gaza operations, we're witnessing a fundamental shift in global power dynamics. Traditional alliances are strengthening, while new military capabilities are reshaping regional balances. Second, humanitarian crises and social barriers. The Lisbon tragedy, Afghanistan's gender discrimination, and Gaza's civilian impact show how social systems and infrastructure failures create unnecessary human suffering. These aren't just local problems. They affect international aid, tourism safety, and diplomatic relations. Third, justice and historical accountability. The Nazi art recovery reminds us that historical injustices continue to surface and require resolution. Whether it's Holocaust restitution or student demands for political reform, people are still fighting for justice decades after initial wrongs. What this means for you. These developments affect everything from your travel safety to tax dollars spent on international aid and defense. The realignment of global power structures could impact trade, technology access, and regional conflicts that influence energy prices and supply chains. Looking ahead, watch for follow-up developments on the Lisbon investigation, Ukraine's post-war planning, and China's military expansion. These stories will continue evolving and affecting international relations in the coming weeks. That's your daily signal for September 5th, 2025. I'm Remo. Stay informed, stay engaged, and we'll see you tomorrow for the latest developments on these continuing stories.
Unfiltered.